The regular meeting of the Minneapolis Arts Commission will now begin. This meeting is being recorded in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joan Vorderbergen, and I am the chair of the Minneapolis Arts Commission. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Aylesworth?
Present.
Commissioner Bedberry?
Present.
Commissioner Brinkman? Commissioner Silky Jones? Commissioner Mansfield?
Present.
Commissioner Middag?
I'm here.
Commissioner Mobus?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Present.
Commissioner Swinton?
Present.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
And Commissioner Vorderbergen.
Here. Thank you. With that, we will proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. Tina, I guess I'll just quick ask if we have a quorum this evening. Should be okay. Also, too, I think some people appreciate the agenda being dropped into the chat. And if it's accessible to you, Tina, I would appreciate it if you could do that. If not, if anyone has it up on their desktop, to go ahead and drop it, and I don't.
Yes, I will do that. I'd like to wait until most people check in because it goes all the way to the top. So I will put that in right now.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, I need a motion to adopt this evening's agenda, which should be in the chat.
So moved.
Or will be. So moved. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Midday. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. I guess we have to call the roll on this too. Yes, I'm still a little on the clumsy side with the roll call on the virtual. So let's see. We have a proper motion before us. Is there any discussion before the clerk calls the roll on tonight's agenda? Okay, with that, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Aylesworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Bedberry?
Aye.
Commissioner Silky Jones? Commissioner Mansfield?
Aye.
Commissioner Middag?
Aye.
Commissioner Mobius?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Swinton?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
And Commissioner Vorderbergen.
Aye, so moved. Thank you. Next item is the acceptance of the minutes from August. May I have a motion to accept the August minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Aylesworth. We have a proper motion before us. Is there any discussion before the clerk calls the roll? I don't see any hands. Okay, with that, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Aylesworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Bedberry?
Aye.
Commissioner Silky Jones? I'll come back to you. We're voting on minutes. Commissioner Mansfield?
Aye.
Commissioner Middag?
Aye.
Commissioner Mobius?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Swinton?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner Vorderbergen?
Aye, so moved. Thank you. Okay, now on to introductions. Let's. Do we have any guests here this evening? I just want to double check. Is there anyone with us tonight that is either on a call or doesn't appear as if we have any guests this evening? So let's go through introductions anyway. It's always nice to just be able to touch base very quickly and reconnect with each other. So you all know the drill. I think we'll just go ahead and your name and anything briefly you'd like to mention, and if you would like to make a comment about transition, being that we just experienced the autumnal equinox and we're moving into fall. Why don't you briefly just share whatever you wish to share. Who would like to kick it off? Oh, yay. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Aylesworth. Thank you.
Hi, I'll start. Lana Aylesworth, Ward 11, she, her, hers. For transition time, I am thinking all back to school all the time because I got 2 wee ones and didn't start so well. So I'm hoping that this transition moment is truly that. I'm going to tag Lucy.
Hi there, Lucy Thompson, Ward 10, she, her, hers, and I'm a lay member representative on the commission. I don't have thoughts about fall, but I just wanted to share. I just went to the new show at High Point Center for Printmaking, and it is incredible. It's a contemporary Black matriarchal lineage in printmaking, and it is just a beautiful show. I mean, I love the gallery anyway, but I just want to put in a plug for that. It made me remember to put my membership up again. So just to put in a plug for that.
It's high praise. Thank you. That's great. Do you want to take somebody?
Sorry. How about Lisa?
Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Middag. My pronouns are she, her, and I represent Ward 2. For not too much longer. So I guess the transition moment that I am seeing is sort of the sunsetting of my time on the Arts Commission here. It's also fall, and our work downtown is, on markets and street performance is starting to sunset also. So I'm thinking about that transition as well. And I will tag Mr. Smith.
Hey, I'm David Smith. I'm a commissioner in Ward 1. I'm a layperson as well. He, her, he, his. Let's see. I've been doing a lot of gardening this summer, so I'm kind of starting to think about the transition to winter and what I still need to do. Still got a lot of stuff to bring in, and so a lot of prep work for next season. So I'm looking forward to that. Although I'll miss the nice warm weather. I will tag Ahava.
Hello, everyone. Ahava Soki Jones, she, her, hers, and I represent Ward 7. I am feeling lots of transitions. We transitioned into being parents of a 5-year-old this weekend, so we have been celebrating a major life transition. I also love fall. My birthday is also in fall, so fall represents lots of, the changing of to the new year, and lots of festivals. So just enjoying the transition into fall festival bonfire season. And I unfortunately cannot see who to call on next because I am in transit. So if someone could call on someone on my behalf, that would be wonderful.
Sure. How about Commissioner Mansfield? Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Mari Mansfield, she, her, hers. I live in Ward 8 and I'm an artist on the commission. And during this time of transition, for me, it's not fall, it's spooky season. So I'm really looking forward to everything Halloween. And I will tag Mandy.
I love it. Spooky season. That's the best. Hello, Mandy Bedbury, she, hers, Ward 10. Wow, lots of transitions. It's the moon, right? It's the harvest moon. Does it just bring it in? Because I was teaching improv class yesterday, and everybody had something new happening in their life. And when we did a check-in, and it's really amazing, scary, right? But you got to lead into that fear. My transition is I'm almost done getting my executive MBA. I graduate in December. So this is the final stretch where I'm like, I don't want to do finance anymore. They didn't teach me this in dance school. Yeah, so that's my transition. Cool. I think, wait, who do we have? We have, Commissioner Swinton. I will tag you.
Hello. Jeff Swinton, he, him, his, Ward 7. And this is the first place that I've lived that I don't like fall as much because it has the impending winter coming. So I can't fully enjoy the great weather because I just know the cooler weather means what's coming. But the cooler weather is nice. So I enjoy that. And I just want to agree with Commissioner Thompson. I went to the High Point show and was blown away. And I happened to go on the day of the reception, and I collect one of the artists, one of the curators, and I got a chance to hang out afterwards with 4 of the artists. And I was like a kid in the candy store. I was like this. I know I was making a fool out of myself. I was like, I was just so gushing over all of them. But you're right. The work is just fantastic, and I'm glad you brought it up, Lucy. And I'll tag Joan.
That's great. I can so empathize with that. I know a lot of times when I am around artists that I am very impressed by that fangirl goofy feeling of like you're meeting a rock star and you just, it's like, wow. So that's cool. I'm super excited to see that show. Okay, Joan Vorderbergen, chair of the Minneapolis Arts Commission. I'm in a little bit of ward limbo right now, which is interesting. She, her, hers. And I will say that I have major transition from my full-time role at Hennepin Theater Trust into coaching and consulting, which is like super interesting to me. And I'm actually really excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and going to be kind of a whole new world for me. So I've got a whole new set of coaching clients from the East Coast, which is like really cool and interesting. And then some consulting gigs that are starting to roll out. So I'm excited about that. And I will tag Commissioner Mobius.
Hello, Jack Mobius, Ward 12, he, him, his pronouns. I am just starting my Master's in Public Affairs program at the U. So it's really about just developing projects right now and transitioning into a ton of homework that I haven't had to do for many years. So that's my transition. Did we get everybody?
Did we get, is there any commissioners that haven't gone? If not, then we can move on to staff.
All right, well then I'll tag Mary.
Oh, I'm going to turn on my video. Hi, I'm Mary. I am celebrating the fall transition right now by painting a storm window during this meeting. But I also had a really cool experience today. Last minute, I get this call from Councilmember Goodman that she's giving a tour to the director of the MIA of the building in an hour. Can I come? Can I come and please help? And so it was really fun to give her a tour of the building and show her all of the great work by the artists. And she was so impressed by the work that the artists have done. So that was really fulfilling. And I didn't have to plan for it because it was last minute.
So no pre-tour anxiety or anything like that. Wait to take one for the team and just, interrupt the middle of your day and go do that. That's great. Good job. Tina, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hello. I am Tina, the program assistant for Minneapolis Arts Commission, and I am looking forward to the cooler weather. I like the fall, so it's one of my favorite seasons. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So.
Thank you. And I don't know, I don't see that Golgun or Talia are on the call. Is there anyone who has not had a chance to say hello? Okay, great. Thanks, you guys. Okay, we'll be moving on to item number 5. And we've got an update regarding in-person meetings, kind of what we know today. And this is a little bit of an evergreen agenda item at this point. But Tina, if you don't mind giving us if there's any changes or any news.
Sure. So at our last our last board and commissions meeting, they mentioned that we will be doing online until at least November 7th. So that is the last word that I've heard. So I haven't heard anything beyond that. There was some rumor about possibly extending coming back in person till January, but that's not official. So I will keep everyone updated, but November 7th was the last date that I received.
Okay. I think that from what I understand that in the moment for our group, this impacts our access and engagement group the most because of some of the plans that they're executing. So we'll maybe wait for those updates until we get to them. But I just appreciate that makes a lot of the work within that particular committee a little bit more difficult. So thank you, Tina, for keeping us abreast to any changes that we might be able to meet in person. And I know that Tina continues to advocate that we wish for there to continue to be an online component if it's possible, even when we are able to convene in person for accessibility reasons. So I think, hopefully that continues to stay in the conversation as well. Any other comments, feedback, questions about item number 5? Okay, moving on to item number 6, the Poet Laureate Work Group updates. I believe Commissioner Aylesworth will give us some great news about this project.
Happy to provide an update. We have 4 commissioners currently on a working group together. So as of right now, where we stand is some extensive research and conversations have taken place. We've been really looking at other cities for a model, particularly Philadelphia, because it had a youth poet laureate component that was at Golgun's kind recommendation there. So I think we, really see eye to eye as a group on a lot of items that enabled us to do a working draft to start that we shared this week with Councilmember Fletcher and Council Vice President Jenkins. Got some immediate good feedback that it looks like a pretty extensive overview. So I want to give special kudos to Commissioner Mobius for running our admin and putting that together. It's really tremendous just to see such a consistent outline of all the things that we've been discussing at will over the last few meetings. And next steps will be another meeting. We did meet at the end of August with Councilmember Fletcher and Council Vice President Jenkins. And then the next steps will be to do so again in beginning of October. So we have a meeting set for October 5th at 1 o'clock. So that's a nice thing to have on the calendar for next steps. In the interim, we will be collecting general emails for a working list we have for community outreach. So at this point, now that we have something to respond to, we can start collecting feedback from our community, which I imagine will really change and color that work. So I think it's gonna be a working document that will undergo some significant transition once we hear from members of our community going forward. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, we'd be happy to post it on Teams so that everybody could, take some time to overview it. It's a lengthier document, so I won't review it in full here, but I will say that if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or any of the other members on the team. So Commissioner Mobius, Commissioner Bedbury, Commissioner Silky Jones, Commissioner Vorderbergen, and myself are all kind of collectively working and brainstorming on this right now. That's it.
That's so quick and great. I mean, really good work. And just to be clear, I am just jumping in now on this next meeting. So I have not been a part of any of the really important work meetings, research, all of that stuff has just it's been great to see that it's all come together, and the document really is a tremendous start. So I love that it's now going to be positioned to be, to receive feedback and figure out where there might be some opportunities to, considering what the community really wants to see. So just really tremendous job. Is there any questions, comments, concerns regarding the Poet Laureate work that's advancing? And I think that, like, if anybody did want to jump in, I think it's kind of open. There's no real formality here. But you're also just really welcome to just skim that document on Teams and send Commissioner Aylesworth just any questions you might have. So I know that she's been just gleaning a lot of information. So I see Commissioner Thompson's hand is up.
Just wondering if St. Paul, you're looking at St. Paul as well?
Surely, yes, we're looking at all local cities too.
Okay.
Feeling like everybody else but us has a Poet Laureate, so.
Yeah, good, great.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that this particular idea has been in the ether for several years too, so I'm really proud of this group for bringing it forward and operationalizing it. It's really nice to see, and I know that Fletcher and Jenkins are happy that that's happening at the commission level, which is great. Any other questions or comments about the Poet Laureate project?
I have a question. So is the document in Teams now, or are you putting it in Teams?
No, it hasn't been posted yet, but I certainly can. It is a working document, so we are continuing to track that. So I would be able to drop it in Teams if I pull it up here. I should have it there by the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, thanks again. All right, the next item is vacancy and interview updates. My goodness, another evergreen agenda item, it seems. We have, Tina, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I believe we are at 10 vacancies at the moment. Is that correct, or 10 potentials?
Yes, that is correct.
I guess I always kind of feel like a renewed sense of possibility when we begin to work on our work plan, because it's sort of the way that we can potentially excite people to want to be engaged. But I am really open to any ideas that anybody has. I know that there's been an outreach to Fair School, Minneapolis College, Perpich. I know that has been happening, and it hasn't solicited what we're looking for. And I think a lot of what we are really in need of, and we are really wanting to prioritize, is BIPOC representation on the commission. And I just feel that there are barriers to participation with volunteering for the city. So we've discussed some of this, and we know that it's a big ask, but we do have seats that go just until December if anyone wanted to give it a short trial run to see. I think everybody's really open to the idea of the possibility of students potentially being a great group to reach out to, just so that we have a little bit of age diversity also on the commission. So I think at a certain point we will have to kind of have a more serious conversation about how to deal with the vacancies. The one thing that I can say is that we've had some conversations with some of the other boards and commissions for the city who there are through lines, and what's, this is not isolated just to the Minneapolis Arts Commission. It's happening in a lot of other places too. And that doesn't make it any easier or better in any way, but just to know that it's not just our group that isn't attracting new talent, retaining talent. So it's unfortunate, and I really want us to try to make a push, but I'm a little out of ideas myself. And so I don't know if at some point we might want to just really make a focus on it and, have this be a part of our retreat potentially that we're going to talk about a little bit later, or just, whatever. But if you have any fresh ideas, if you are interested in helping, I know that Mandy, Mari, and I field applications and interview applicants who meet the criteria that we have established. And we just have seen, while we've been excited to see that there's been some applications, it's just been, it's lacked that diversity that we want to prioritize. And that's been the barrier for us in advancing new candidates. So at any rate, any comments, ideas, certainly reach out to me at any time, because I do think it is part of the executive committee's work plan goals to try to seat, have a full slate. So, and it is kind of one of the biggest opportunities we hold, to be honest, is all of these positions could be very interesting. So, okay. Anybody have any other comments? Oh, Jack.
I was just going to mention, at the university, one of our faculty leadership council is one member of that is the head of the art department at the university. And I could definitely speak with her about posting this, or, just offering this opportunity to people in the art department, which might be a good push. So
that would be really helpful. And I think, I think that, sorry, my husband is ringing the dinner horn for my mom. I apologize. It's very disruptive. Sorry about that. Okay, so Jack, that would be really tremendous if you could do that. You can share. We have a one-pager that the policy group has put together, and Ahava has kind of updates all the time. And we even created some updates today to that, so that's kind of helpful. And also our work plan can be helpful to share. But the link to that application, then Tina can share that with you, because I think there was some concern about the ease of getting to it, like clicking the link and getting to the actual opportunity. So if that's okay for a takeaway.
that'd be great.
Okay, great. And Ahava, did I see you have your hand up?
Yes, one thing I just wanted to offer for discussion is, I know when we talked earlier on about trying to recruit and retain, is it was about like the work that we're doing and how interesting it is, and whether or not we feel like we're in the heart of the action or not. And I think lately, two projects in particular, the Poet Laureate as well as supporting the Arts and Culture Department, are, pretty higher profile things, I think, than maybe the commission was involved in when it first started a few years ago. And so I'm just thinking about how do we better communicate or leverage some of the projects we're involved in to gain interest.
That's a super great consideration, because I agree with you. Those are exciting work streams to be part of, and could potentially attract some talent that we maybe haven't seen, especially in the literary community. So maybe as we're sharing the feedback opportunity, we might also consider sharing the fact that, you could be even more involved. Also too, I know that we had hoped to have maybe a little bit more robust social media to be able to promote the opportunity. So maybe a social media post that says, would you like to help shape the new Department of Art and Cultural Affairs for the city of Minneapolis? This is one way that you can be a part of the conversation internally, whatever it is. That's a very long post that I just said, but people who do social media could clean that up a bit. But I really appreciate that. I don't know where we were at with the social media stuff. I know that there was a little bit of fogginess about if we could post or if we couldn't, and that there's some streamlining happening. I don't know, Mary, do you have any updates about that? Like, as far as promoting the vacancies on the commission, can we make a push to continue to push that out, or what do you know?
If it's still open, you can keep pushing it out. I've made everybody an administrator on the Facebook site who wants to be. If you're not an administrator and you want to be, let me know.
That could be like a little bit of a special project for someone. Like, has a little bit of social media work. I see Lisa's hand up.
I didn't intend to raise my hand, so sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. Nice to hear your voice. Okay. Is there any other comments, concerns, feedback about the vacancy issue? Okay. Thank you again for revisiting this, and we will get there. Okay, item number 8 is our action learning team updates. You might recall that I think we kind of had for quite some time this format where we would go through and sort of provide these updates on our work plans. I think some of the work that just got kind of intense throughout the spring and summer, I think. And so like, I think just there's been some changes to what we're actually focusing on, which has all been very positive in my opinion. But I did send an email and ask everyone to just take a peek at kind of the different compartments or the subcommittees that you serve on and what those work plans look like today, in order to provide a little bit of an update, but also to as you start thinking about what you want your goals to be for the coming year, hopefully that's a good platform for you to start from to just create some updates. So I will provide some updates right now for the executive committee. One of them is that we're evaluating the 2021 work plan and taking a look at it and like seeing where people are at with it, because we want to be supportive. And the executive committee does is kind of home to most of the chairs. That was kind of an informal advancement that's happened over time. So I will say that, you know, we'll want to get feedback from you, and we'll want to be advancing, kind of getting these Q4 goals figured out a little bit better and maybe articulated a little bit better, and then thinking about the coming year. So, so thank you in advance for that. I might reach out to you each just to see like if you have any updates after you have your meetings this coming month for the last quarter here. So that's coming. The second item is we would like to do a survey. It's kind of part of our goals. We want to do a survey this last quarter for all commissioners. And I did list out in the agenda, we talked about kind of what some of those items might be that would help us tick a couple of boxes. One is finding out what kind of feedback you have for priorities for the new department and our role for the new department. So that's something that we want everyone to just give a little thought leadership time to, maybe have a discussion about within your ALT teams when you meet, and then provide that feedback. But we'll be sending you a survey. Also, just some feedback about the work that you've accomplished this past year. You know, do you see some opportunities? Have there been some, how has it been, I guess, in general, about kind of moving forward? And I know that we've had to be quite nimble and agile, really, when work is thrown at us, and some of the changes that we've kind of, and the opportunities that we've seized. So I think that's a show of some really great talent to be able to do that. But I also appreciate that it can be stressful. So it'll be nice to hear about, how has the workflow been going. And then the other was just your initial ideas for the coming year and what you feel you want to work on, what you think should be prioritized. So I guess I want to, and then I'm sorry, this looks like it's might be a little bit off, but the last item is just that we were thinking about a possible retreat. So I might just hold that and just ask if there's any feedback about the survey here. And also you are welcome to email me with any feedback that you might have about what you think would be helpful to be in the survey for the commission. Commissioner Thompson?
I think there was one more as well. It's maybe a little, kind of informal, but just people's general impressions of what's working and what isn't working. So just the way that we're doing our work and everything, feedback, outreach and all that kind of stuff. So just impressions of what's working and what's not working. I think that was one as well.
Thank you. Jotting that down, I appreciate it. Is there any other feedback now about what would be valuable information to get from the commission, or anything that you would wish to share too via a survey, or would like for others to share? Okay. Again, if you're more comfortable reaching out to me directly, that's great. Feel free to do that. I think that I will send a deadline for that because I want to compile this and get it out before our next executive meeting, hopefully so that we can just take a look at that when we meet and think about how we want to utilize this information. So be on the lookout for that if you don't mind. Any other, I see Ahava's hand up. I don't know if it's still up. No? Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the survey for quarter four? Okay. And then the next item is the possible retreat for the fourth quarter. I really think that the survey is going to be kind of helpful in determining what might be an opportunity for a retreat. But I'm just curious now that this is something that's on our work plan that we are going to kind of check the temperature around. It's nice to know what the purpose of the retreat would be, clearly. We don't need to put another meeting on our schedules if we don't have a clear idea. Part of what I think could potentially be a part of that retreat would be a deeper dive in some of those persistent issues, the vacancies, the potential for in-person meetings, and just talking about, like, let's play out a little bit of scenarios about what sort of best practices will be if we are not going to meet in person all winter. And also what are those priorities for 2022, and really dialing down on that and completing that work together, maybe after we've had a chance to do some of that subcommittee work on it. So is there anybody feedback out of okay, Commissioner Thompson.
Sorry, I guess I have a lot of questions today. I'll put my camera on. Would a retreat be a public meeting?
It hasn't been in the past, but
Okay.
Everything's changed. That's a really good question. We haven't had a retreat for a long time.
Okay.
And I think the last retreat that we had happened on a Saturday afternoon at Commissioner Middig's big dining room table, big beautiful table. And we had lunch and we dialed into the work plan.
Yeah, it would be nice from my standpoint to not have it be a public meeting, so that we can frankly talk about challenges and opportunities, and especially the new department and where we fit. Not that anything we're going to be talking about is real, like dark world or anything, but I just feel like I'd feel better if we could just all speak freely about where we see our role going in the department. So that's why I was asking. So
I agree. And so I see Mary's hand up, and she might be able to clarify what can or cannot do. So Mary, go ahead.
So a quorum of the commission cannot meet without it being a public meeting. That's a violation of open meeting law. So you have to, but that said, the commission has had a number of retreats, posted it as a public meeting, and no one has come. So It's not, it's just posted on the website, right? It's not like the city sends out regular invitations to the Arts Commission's meeting.
Okay.
If a member of the public wanted to come, they would have to be able to come.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Lisa?
I was just going to add that when we did our last retreat, it was the executive committee. And I believe there were one or two other members who wanted to participate for various reasons of what we were talking about. And we did stay under the level of a quorum. So that's just another possibility for you all. If you feel you really don't want to do a public meeting, like who needs to be there and who's, what's the content you're talking about, might just one other possible strategy.
That's really good feedback. And thank you for that clarification. I forgot that really was the case. It may be, that's a good thing to consider. Perhaps it's an exec committee meeting that sets some framework up for the rest of the commission to provide feedback for. I guess I would be open to that, with potentially like an open door policy that if you wish to attend, you may. That might make a lot of sense. Mary, I see your hand is up again.
So I believe that this city clerk has ruled that the executive committee meeting is a public meeting. So open meeting law is also about how the clerk interprets the law, right? So the executive committee meeting is now a public meeting.
Yep, I'm aware. That's great. Thank you for that clarification too. And I'm seeing in the chat, Commissioner Swinton feels like everyone should be allowed to attend and provide feedback. So thank you for that. I think that this item I don't think decisions will be made about this just yet. I think that this is going to be another agenda item for exec to decide. So I would love to hear any other feedback that you might have about a potential retreat. And I may just reach out to everyone kind of individually and just say, you know, is like October an okay month? Is, you know, convening these types of things can be kind of difficult in addition to all the other things that people have going on and all the other meetings. But I do think that we have reason to come together a little bit longer and dial down on some of these things because they require a little bit more discussion than the time that we have available in our regular meetings. So I would like for us to manifest it in some way, but I'm really open to ideas about that. So, so I guess more to come. Is there any other comments or feedback? Lisa, your hand is up.
Sorry, I didn't lower it.
It's okay. No problem. Okay. So thanks for that. All right. So that is everything I have right now, unless I missed anything from exec about kind of looking at looking at our work plan. You know, seating the commissioners, creating a general plan to advocate for being in the working group. Boy, that sure changed in a very positive way. So, and then just really supporting the completion of the 2021 work plans. And then the last item I will mention is delegating and creating an end of year report. And so I think that that's just another item that we're thinking about. And it would be nice if each of the ALTs would even just maybe even consider writing something up, just like a brief wrap up of the year, because I would love to be able to include that with the 2022 work plan for our elected. I think that would be a nice thing to do that we haven't done before potentially. So, so something to think about. Okay, so I will move on to policy and advocacy updates. And I'm not sure who wants to take that on. I apologize.
Happy to chat a little more. So we're looking at the consent agenda policy updates was where we last left off. And so just to start, I want to thank everybody for contacting me with their feedback. What I attempted to do was to synthesize that into a policy document that's representative, I hope, of a lot of the ideas that were shared. If you don't feel that that is appropriately reflected here, please know that it's a working document, and I'm really open to that. I'm trying to look for consistency in broad strokes, and I tried to leave it pretty open-ended so that anytime there's a question, we should all feel empowered to speak up on it, right? So the way I organized it was by preparation steps. The criteria questions that we might consider for moving something from consent agenda item into discussion for the full commission, and then the procedure that we would utilize for that. So I did just post this in Teams as well. So let me go ahead and add the link here. Hopefully this one will work. Thanks for the heads up on the other one, Jeff. Appreciate that. So if anybody's looking for these beyond the chat from the meeting, you can access them from the Teams browser under the Minneapolis arts page. You can look at the general and then click files, and you should see these posted there. So what I did here is outlined, sorry, just pulling it back up. Great. So the preparation steps would be that city staff would add any of the presentations to SharePoint and share a link when they're posted prior to the public art advisory panel meeting. So commissioners can review, we can pose any questions to the chair and staff as early as possible is the intent there. Commissioners also not on the public art advisory panel may listen in upon request. So Mary was really helpful for that for me as I was compiling this together. I sat in on one of the meetings, and it was just really interesting for me to get a framework of what those meetings look like. Having never been present at one, so I would really recommend any other commissioners who are curious to sit in on those meetings, particularly if, you know, in the future, if we get a SharePoint link that overviews something that you have particular interest or questions about, that would be a really great first place to start when the presentations are happening in real time. So beyond that, criteria to move to discussion would be work containing culturally significant content, imagery considered sacred or closed practiced, or that is representative of an underrepresented group. Work of large scale. That statement, of course, is also large scale. So I've added in some information about that it could be that there's a history of community involvement, that it's in a very prominent location, such as in a cultural district, or has a large budget exceeding $25,000, $100,000. So, you know, we're looking at some big projects here. So that could be almost any of them. So what that really does is create an opening for questions should they arise. I also added in a criteria that we could move it to discussion at the recommendation of staff or of MAC representative that would be serving on the Public Art Advisory Panel. The procedure to do so would first be to request to chair and staff that the item be moved from consent agenda to discussion. Commissioner would ask to discuss within minimum of 48 hours prior to the regularly scheduled meeting. So for us, that would be Monday by 5 p.m. 48-hour notice would allow time to prepare for conversation, for discussion, without pulling an item or delaying a project. The second item for procedure is that we will add meeting dialogue, where the chair will ask if any consent items should be moved to a discussion item. And the third procedure step would be that if an item is added to the discussion, staff or applicant would conduct the presentation prior to any commission discussion. So that's a lot of information very quick. Thanks for bearing with me there. It is available as a reading document for you too. And I do really hope that that reflects a lot of the ideas that were shared with me. So thank you for your time and attention, commissioners. That was really, you know, it's a pretty engaged process for me to be able to think about this too, and try to have a way to organize your ideas. So thanks for sharing.
Great job. I see that Lisa has her hand up.
And I did want to speak this time, sorry. Just a clarification for the sake of commissioners who maybe haven't had as much experience yet with the consent agenda, that the consent agenda doesn't prohibit anyone on the commission at the moment of it being presented from pulling something from the list. So I appreciate that what we're laying out is kind of a consideration for when something really shouldn't be placed on the consent agenda to begin with. But this is just a reminder to everyone in case you're feeling like, well, what if these criteria don't cover this, right? Or what if something anomalous comes up? And the answer is, as a commissioner, you always, always, always have the right to make a motion to move something off the consent agenda. And that has happened in the past. So just a reminder to folks.
That's helpful. Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments about the consent agenda? Commissioner Thompson. Lucy, you have your hand up.
I didn't unmute. Sorry about that. The one that I thought that maybe you just reworded it, Lana, and I'm not seeing it, but yeah, and again, what Lisa just said, this would be maybe for a reason for it not to be on consent in the first place. But to me, if the work is in a neighborhood that's undergoing significant change, where that artwork is a real kind of like a milestone or a marker of what's been going on, I think that's something that indicates its impact, but especially a neighborhood that is changing and really expressing, you know, a new reality in a different way. So I would add that. So anyway.
Yeah, thanks for that, Lucy. I think I was doing a broad stroke under the header of, you know, large scale, and I will definitely revise to add in that language. Thank you.
Great. I don't see any other hands up, so you can keep going.
All right. Okay, so moving on to the Department for Art and Cultural Affairs updates. So just so that everyone's looped in, we've had a few different conversations, both with our policy and advocacy subcommittees. I've had a one-on-one with Director Shelton Walchuk and also a one-on-one with Golgoon. So we are really trying to advance conversations for MAC to have our ideas at the table. And what we're hearing back some ways that we could be helpful, and we're starting to feel out which ways the commission would like to be helpful for next steps. One thing that I really love seeing on our agenda tonight is the, feedback for the priorities for the new department and Mac's role. I think that's going to be very telling in the survey, and that'll be helpful for our working to move forward with this. I'd like to update everybody, that right now in the budget, it's looking at $300,000 is what is listed in the mayor's budget right now, which is substantially lower than what we had hoped to see for support for the new department. So, this is still in the realm of how do we best stabilize the work if we can't stabilize the workers that are assisting artists in our community. And that's really where we want to get the most support to. So some of the questions I have for the commission is, how do we best support, the local artists that are out there working every day with this department? That's an ongoing conversation. I'm sure it will continue as we transition into the new department in the new year. One opportunity that was presented to us would be to write another letter, which we could certainly take on and do that again with ease if we thought that it would be a helpful solution. From our subcommittee, the discussion was that we wouldn't want to do so without the explicit ideas represented from a broader community beyond just MAC. We all represent different wards, we all represent the community as a whole, and it just seems like this would be an opportunity, if we were going to write another letter, that it would have to be reflective of our broader community. So what we've asked for is that the Arts and Creative Economy write out an email to their arts stakeholders, who they did hold a group meeting with in preparation for this before the public hearing, that they be followed up with, and that commissioners also be CC'd with that message, just so that we can get, the general budget overview. Obviously, no one can be involved in any sort of advocacy from city staff on this. They have to be very careful with what is stated, but I feel like it's appropriate to update those same stakeholders with where we stand for the budget. And once that is out there, the ask is on the table right now that we have access to those emails of the arts stakeholders, so that if we wanted to be in communication with them, we could get some more represented ideas and proceed from there. I'm very open to other commissioners' ideas. Do you feel that, the first letter I thought was very well received. I thought that was great conversations to be held on the council member level. Would that be the right move? Again, is something that we're evaluating as a subcommittee, and I'm really open to the discussion there of what commissioners think. Ideas, you can feel free to email me if you're more comfortable with that. I like to use these meetings as a bit of a sounding board. So if that's not your style and you prefer to email me directly, please do so. Otherwise, please feel free to speak up here too.
I guess I have a question that might not be, and maybe I should be more informed, but my question is, what is the area of opportunity with the $300,000 budget line? Is there still time for us to push back against that, for that number to be different in this moment? That's kind of what I'm thinking of. Like, so the letter, would that potentially, the letter could say, we want more significant resources from the budget to go towards the new department, and that potentially could be an angle that we would take.
Absolutely. The budget is still going to undergo a lot of transition with markup, so that's still coming within the next couple of months. So that is one interpretation of how a letter could be useful.
And is it also potentially, there could be an opportunity for us to canvass our council members once more, to say, hey, like, these are the things that we want to see prioritized with the new department, and maybe even canvassing the mayor's policy aide that is responsible for this, like, maybe that's another action item. I never want to do make work, but I thought that it was pretty effective when we did that last time. It really was interesting to see how impactful it was. So
I think that's a great suggestion, Joan. Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Thompson.
Did you call on me?
I'm sorry, yes. Yeah.
I didn't mean to have I'm sorry. I don't have a comment.
Okay, Lisa?
I just wanted to, sorry, I'm trying to formulate this as I'm saying it, but it feels very much to me as if that budget represents a kind of notion about the arts that is vested in an older idea about how community artists work and what they contribute to community. And I think if we do send a letter, I think it would be super helpful to frame it in terms of recovery and healing. I think those are part of the critical functions that our artist community have brought to the table all throughout the pandemic and the uprising. And I just feel like there is a sense from city leaders that, you know, we've got a lot going on right now. And I don't know, I feel a little sensitive about this idea that art might seem like window dressing at the moment, but it's not. It's super critical. And I think if we're going to send a letter, and I would certainly support sending a letter, it should emphasize that.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, really great feedback. That's certainly a strong consideration. Commissioner Mansfield, do you want to go?
Yeah, so I totally agree with what Lisa and Joan said. I'll do whatever has to do to get more money in this budget. I also think we should be very clear and honest about saying that this amount of money that they're putting up is not worthy of our city and certainly doesn't reflect us being an art city. I don't think we can call ourselves an arts capital of the country when we're not putting that kind of money into it, you know?
Agreed. Thank you for that. I'll note it as well.
Mary, your hand is up.
I think it's just important to clarify what is in the budget, because I think there's kind of what's in the budget, and then what you're talking about is really the budget for the department, right? So what's in the budget currently is actually, the mayor is describing it as a transition budget to develop the department. So I just want to clarify that the mayor isn't saying that this is the budget that he envisions for this department. It is listed as a transition budget. And so I'm not defending this budget, but I can imagine that it would take probably, given city bureaucracy, a year to put together a department, right? And so, so I just want to clarify that because I think it's probably a little unfair to describe it as, you know, in the context of this is the vision for the budget for the department. That said, you know, it is what it is. So, and if you would like to see it, in fact, I'll just put a link to this page of the budget in the chat so that you can see how the mayor describes it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Is there anyone else who would like to comment, provide feedback, thoughts or ideas? Okay. With that, Commissioner Aylesworth, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with your updates at all, or have we covered?
It's a really fruitful conversation. I really appreciate it. We're going to be meeting again with our subcommittee at the end of the month, so it's helpful to get some, you know, first reactions and impulses from all of them.
This is Tina. Before we move on, I saw Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Midegg, their hands up. So I just want to make sure they didn't have anything else.
Thanks, Tina. It's Lucy. I was just going to echo. I wanted to just really strengthen what Lana said about what we think the power of the voice of the arts community is way beyond us in making this case. And so that's why we really felt that that was something we could proactively do, which was to, you know, kind of bring the passion of the you know, arts community writ large to the council, that we could be a for that, and really that's what amplifies us. I think just a letter from us frankly isn't that meaningful anymore right now. And so bringing those other voices and us being the funnel for that, I just want to reinforce that what Lana's saying, that we just really felt that was an important thing for us to be able to do. So that's all. Thank you.
That's smart. That's really valuable feedback. So thank you. Thanks, everybody. Okay, I think we will move on then, if that's okay, if there's no one has anything else, to the public art updates. And I'm going to pick on Mary a little bit because I have admittedly been a little bit out of the loop, and I know that Commissioner Mansfield and Commissioner Smith have been participating. But Mary, do you mind just giving us some updates on project selection?
Right, so the Public Art Advisory Panel is actually allocating the 2020, 2021, and 2022 Public Art Percent for Art budget currently, and so it's a significant amount of money. They received about 17 different project proposals last month, and the 2021 artists, if you remember them, they presented a number of the projects. It was super exciting. I think one of the values that these artists add is that it's looking at the city's capital improvement plan can be an extremely dull experience. And I think they made it more exciting, and they showed some really great precedents. The panel did not have enough time to discuss that number of projects, and so they postponed the discussion until next month. And so they will be discussing the projects next month and taking a vote and allocating the funds. So it's really exciting.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, and I'm excited that I get to have more robust participation next month. That'll be great. Any questions or comments about public art project selection? I think we can just move on, if not, to the fact that there is a vacancy on the Public Art Advisory Council. If anyone is interested, it's an artist vacancy, but we also, it's an opportunity, and Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, it's an opportunity also to potentially bring someone forward from the community who is artist identifying that we might want to court.
Right. So if you have an artist that you think would be good to have on the committee, it's really the executive committee that appoints people from the community onto the Public Art Advisory Panel. So if you could just put me in contact with them, and I could get their information and share it with the executive committee. One thing to note is that artists or people on the Public Art Advisory Panel are not eligible to apply for public art projects. And so if it is an artist who you think is really interested in applying in the next couple of years, I would recommend not nominating them, but trying to find someone. And this is not limited to just visual artists. It could be an artist with from a different art form.
Mary, I have a question. Is it the same kind of rules as the MAC, where they have to be a resident or business owner in the city?
There isn't a specific rule about that, no. I also have to say, though, that I think for some people that have served on the panel, they have had public art as a passion, but they haven't really felt they're ready to start to make that part of their portfolio, or that they're qualified to be a public artist, but then they have actually been on the panel, and that has helped build their capacity to understand how to fabricate a work of art. And so it is a good opportunity for somebody who's emerging, who has a vision that this could be part of their future.
That was really well articulated. You learn so much because the Public Art Advisory Council really, I think we've used this kind of term a lot, kind of really kicks the tires on proposals and you know, issues of safety, issues of engagement. It's just the whole kind of 360 look at project proposals. So you do really learn a tremendous amount about public art process. So thanks for that. Any other questions or comments about the public art updates? All right, thank you. Thanks, Mary, for providing those. We'll move on then to access and engagement updates. I'm not sure who is going to provide those from that group. I apologize.
I don't think we really nominated someone either. So.
Well then, if someone, maybe, how about this? If we look at what's kind of on the agenda, and maybe that can spur in some commentary. So there's the artist survey updates, an artist panel update.
Yep, and yeah, Lisa is kind of taking over that. I think we're almost done to be able to send the survey, and you know, Jeff and Lisa jump in anytime. But yeah, so the survey questions are completed. The draft is ready to go. I think, and Mary has offered graciously to send it out to the artists that have worked for the city in the past few years. So Lisa will have to tell us exactly where it's at. I think it's off to Mary soon from what, is that right, Lisa?
I will be happy to send it to whoever needs to. I think I was just waiting to hear from our group definitively that it was ready to go. And if that's the sign off, I'm happy to send the link. So
yeah, cool. So we just,
I'll do it tomorrow.
Sweet. So there's that word that's updated.
Hey, nice. The next item was the artist panel updates. I know that that's been really difficult to plan, but I know that that's been part of y'all's conversations too.
Yeah, and now that we know that it's November and possibly into the new year, I think we're definitely going to start planning a virtual. I think we're going to shift a little bit to the virtual, but we have to get this artist survey out first because that's going to affect who is interested in being on the panel. And then from there, we can plan the rest of it accordingly.
That makes a lot of sense. Great. And then the guest speakers. I know, again, this is another one that's just tough to navigate in this environment, but not.
I kind of had to punt a little bit for that one. Using my sports analogies. We've had a little punt on that one. So yeah, so we don't have anybody lined up for the rest of the year, but now that we know that we're just going to try virtual. So here's the thing. We're required. So how do we get around that we're required to have a public event for the public in the space, the required event that we have every year? We were going to do in December, but there's a chance that we might not be meeting in person. So do we plan something? And this is something maybe feedback for everybody, and we can take it back and do the planning in our ALTs. Do we plan something virtually? Or do we try to do a hybrid in the new space like we were going to do for the November maybe panel discussion? I guess we're open to know, but also what we need to do to not break any rules for our charter.
I mean, I guess my thoughts are just that we are not in a situation in which we really can plan, unless, you know, we just, to your point, make a decision and draw a line in the sand and say the public event is going to be virtual. And if that's the case, that I feel like that might be the only real path to be able to advance a plan. So maybe the access group could do a little thinking about what would be the value proposition of a virtual event and how would we pull that off in a way that would attract attendees. So, sorry, you're muted, Mandy.
how it would be different than our regular public meetings that we have every month. Like we wanted to make it different and offer, a voice to people. So, and maybe that just means, I know we don't want to combine the panel discussion of artists with our last meeting in December. I think we wanted to hold those two things separate, but we could use that survey and we could use that list maybe to generate some excitement for them to attend our meeting in December. Maybe we just kind of work something like that out. But so yeah, so we kind of come back to we're going back to the drawing board now to figure out what our guest speakers and what it's going to look like for the remainder of the year, I guess, is our final update.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone. I know that this is not an ideal situation to be charged with how to plan events. We still don't know if we can be together. So I just feel for you that it's hard to have a clear direction with this. And I don't know, another idea I'm just kind of thinking out loud is like, is our December meeting extended to have like a 45-minute artist panel discussion and then get down to business afterwards and people can stay on or something like that. You know what I mean? Where we give maybe a little bit more time to a group of artists that we wish to hear from. And then lighten our agenda maybe for December or something. I'm not sure, but that might be another option too.
Awesome. Jeff or Lisa, did I miss anything from our last conversation? Sorry about my barking dog.
No, there was a comment in the chat from Mary that it's she has the email for public artists that work for the city, and yes, Mary, that's still a very good list. So thank you.
And we might want to tap Golgoon too with that survey to see if she would be interested in sharing with the artists that she engages. I don't know. I'm not assuming that that's the case, but I'm just saying, she might be able to help that way too.
That's great. Lisa, do you want to reach out to Golgoon or do you want me to do it to see if she'd be willing to send? Oh, my word.
Hi.
You snuck on.
Yeah, I've been listening and present with my video off for a while, but I just wanted to say hi. And thanks, Mandy, you did a really good job, I think, summing it up. And knowing that I missed the first part, so my apologies for being late, everyone. Hi. But knowing that what the decision is for the in-person meetings is helpful, so then we can just move forward with like a virtual idea. And I think I do have some ideas, so we can discuss that too as a committee. And we do also, Mary, thanks for having access to the public artists. And I think we have a list and can kind of get some contacts for some to expand that list. And we can send the link to anyone, really. So we can send it to Golgoon, we can send it to whomever. I just think the more the merrier, yeah.
Maybe she could even include it in her newsletter.
Hey, right?
We've never really asked for anything within that format. I'm not sure if that's possible.
Yeah. I love that newsletter. It's so comprehensive. So
yeah,
it is.
And it's really nice to see you, Krista.
Yeah, it's nice to see you all too. Thanks again, Mandy.
Lana, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question regarding the survey questions. I'm not sure if that had been posted anywhere, but I'm not sure what questions we're asking of artist experience. Maybe you can elaborate or direct me in the right spot there to find those.
Yeah, I can share like a Google Doc that we've been working with. So let me just find that and I'll actually pop it in the chat. And just so you know, the survey questions were kind of like, our intention was to get some pretty broad information or experience, including, are you interested in diving deeper into these conversations? And then kind of if an artist is willing to do that, because this is kind of like a volunteer basis at this point. Artists are taking their time to do a little survey, so hopefully they do it. So we really wanted to make it like very easy and straightforward for this initial kind of roundup. But I'll just find the Google Doc or somehow share it in the chat.
Thank you. And then I have another question. Was the panel opportunity is incentivized, right?
That is incentivized, yeah. So that was
a lot of sense.
in the budget that was approved. Then we intend to, yeah, compensate folks.
So that makes a lot of sense. So if people are interested in diving deeper, there's an opportunity for them to potentially get paid to do so. So that's a cool, that's a cadence. I like it. Yay. Okay, is there any other updates from Access and Engagement? That's that's all really great work.
We do have some messages out to potential guests. So we'll just keep the group updated as they come.
Awesome. Yay. All right, any other questions or comments for our Access and Engagement group?
Ooh, can I just say one quick thing too? I think we got the email sent out this week, but Tamiko from Legacy Arts is interested in volunteers. She received a creative response grant. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, so she received that and she is doing her event on Saturday. And so the event, she needs people to help like set up around 2 p.m.-ish and tear down, I think, around 7, if I remember right. But the email, I think, has her email address in it if you want to reach out to her and see what she needs. It's going to be in George Floyd Square, and there's going to be a lot of things happening, and so the more the merrier. So if you have time Saturday to pop on by, it would be super helpful.
Thank you. That's nice. I love the idea that an artist that we've engaged is looking at us and asking us for some help. So it would be cool if we can provide a little support that way, or even share the volunteer opportunity is helpful too. Okay, anything else for Access and Engagement? All right, we are on to the last item, which is any new business. Is there anything that we did not cover this evening that people wish to share? Have questions about? Well, look at us getting all this work done ahead of schedule. Amazing, really good job, you guys. I think unless there's anything else gone. Let's see. With that, we have completed all items on the agenda for this meeting. I'm asking members and staff if there are any other matters to come before this meeting. Okay, if not, and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you for all your hard work. What a great group you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.